The way I'm painting here actually is a little more like using oil paint, but it is watercolor, of course, that I'm painting with. I'm not flooding an area and then adding and then doing what many people call glazing, typically the way the majority of people that I've seen doing it. I'm simply mixing paint on a white palette and getting the consistency to how I want it. You can test it on a piece of paper nearby. And I'm discharging the extra water onto a paper towel as I go, and then deliberately placing my paintbrush, which is just loaded enough with paint and water, just enough to lay down the paint that you see me laying down here. It's a little more like how I work in oil, but it's not. So I thought I'd throw that in because it occurred to me after I realized that a lot of people get stuck in their head as if there's a way to work with watercolor, like there's a prescribed way, and there is no prescribed way. I mean, you could definitely follow all the different tutorials. There are so many good ones online, but it's really about painting. It's about like just using the medium and discovering what it will do as you are working with it. So no pre-prescribed ways of working here. This is just how I do it, and since you tuned in, I'm letting you know. And as a bit of backstory, I'm self-taught in watercolor. I've studied everything, and I do have a pretty extensive education, but I did this on my own and discovered how it was that I wanted to paint. There were no there were no recipes or ways of doing it. I did, however, and do really strongly rely on the things I learned in terms of how to use materials, what they are and how to use them and what they're made up of. And you definitely should explore that, and I will talk more about that as I continue and as you continue along with me. It's just about paint and how you want to apply it. It's good to experiment and see what it will do, see how it will react with the paper, and I'll get more into this as we continue. In this video, I'll be talking about the nature of creativity and creativity as a form of literacy. Most of us are aware that our education systems have all but eliminated curriculums having to do with the arts, casting subjects such as art in a way that diminishes its importance as a life skill. Ironically, I've noticed that all the while the DIY movement, that is, the do-it-yourself movement, has surged because so many people love creating. It gives us such a sense of satisfaction. And while it's fairly easy to get into all types of crafts, it's much more challenging to acquire skills such as painting and drawing. It all starts with appreciation. I loved art from a very early age. It was magical to me. I was excited by what I saw in picture books and wanted to know more about it. I also played among roses and other flowers as a small child, which had a deep and lasting effect on me. I went on to study art in school, and here I am today. Had my creative nature been ignored, it would have atrophied and become dormant. Creativity is a form of literacy. I see it as a high form of literacy. It can be expressed in writing, visual arts, music, dance, cooking, everything. So it's much more than that. It's an attitude, a way of being, and a way of life. When we're creative, we're making choices. Many, many choices. This color, that sound, that word, that flavor. In my work, many small choices add up and become a finished painting. Brushstrokes, like thoughts and feelings, have a life of their own. They have qualities of sound, thought, feeling, and emotion. We know them through deeper levels of our senses. As conglomerations of thought forms held in time and space, they indicate a certain quality of mind. And as art, we can revisit them over and over again. They're alive and may appear differently each time we look, as if we're in dialogue with them. When we see a work of art, hear music, or read something we find moving, we often recognize the artist. The thread that runs through their work becomes like a signature, a fingerprint. It's an invisible energetic that's captured in form that we just recognize and know right away. It's the energy and quality of mind in a work of art that we gravitate toward. Does it match our vibe? Does it speak our language? Does it touch us? Are we curious? We love and appreciate the ineffable that's present in art. It's what we actually value most. And sometimes, to our surprise, that thing we value most turns out to be non-physical, even though we may be looking at a physical object. Art is one of the few things that sits at the juncture of becoming. It has the potential of closing the gap between the realms of imagination and our terra firma reality, or what we think of as reality. The only thing keeping certain aspects of static or stagnant reality in place is our thinking mind and its habits. Our creative nature is vast and holds keys that can help us live more fulfilling and enjoyable lives. This is just the tip of the iceberg. In my workshop, participants receive links to downloads so that they can follow along with me, but most just listen and interact, taking in all that's new the very first time. The replay is available to watch afterward. All levels are welcome as we uncover your genius, your innate capabilities, even if you've never touched a paintbrush before. And again, Beginner's Mind is a really great place to start. You can find out more about Raindrops on Roses and how to join in on my website at www.lesliemontana.com and through the links that I've provided in the description box below. I hope you'll consider joining me if you haven't already. And till next time, thank you so much. Enjoy being creative.